if we know the risks of mercury and there's other substances to fill teeth with, why still use mercury, at least in dentistry?
Well, the reason we're still using mercury is 11 reasons. Money, 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 money. And it has to do, the United States government buys mercury fillings for welfare, for the military, for the Army, for the Navy, for the Air Force, for the Coast Guard, for the Public Health Service, for the North American Indians. So they're up to their neck in buying mercury and putting it in people's teeth. And so they're concerned about their economic interest. The dentists are concerned about being sued because mercury fillings are linked to everything from Alzheimer's to Parkinson's to multiple sclerosis. So the minute you admit that this little mercury leaking plug is going to cause hearing loss, oh, I want you to buy me a hearing aid. Oh, we don't want that because we can't afford hearing aids because we just barely got enough money for that filling. So liability issues make a resistance to change. And I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm saying that's unethical for them not to. And that's what all the countries like Sweden and Norway had to do. They had to bring an ethicist in to the discussion because it's not about economics. It's not about whether they're afraid of being sued. It's about the moral imperative. Once you have something that works as well or better, you can't use the one that leaks mercury morally, ethically, because you're exposing your staff to mercury levels that are unlawful. You're exposing yourself to levels that will cause harm in your old age, and maybe right now the suicide rate's enormous. Well, what's one of the symptoms of mercury exposure? That would be depression. So, you know, oh, well, we'll take our medications for that and continue to expose ourselves. But morally, we can't continue to use that material in the mouths of human beings. The National Institute for Craniofacial Research, NIH, funded a horribly unethical series of studies in children. And what they did was, I criticized this study as a studies designed to fail, because the only parameter they used for the amount of mercury the child was exposed to were the number of fillings in the child's teeth. And then they lumped all the kids together and said, see, no problem. Well, wait a minute. We've got a case-controlled study. This kid has one filling. They even had children with mercury fillings in the controls. That's called cheating. But take all the kids that have one filling and put them here, and they have 2 fillings and put them here, and 3 fillings and put them here, and 4 fillings and put them here, and the kids with no fillings and put them here. And what you found was a nice straight line graph showing harm from the fillings in a form of an abnormal porphyrin. It's called coproporphyrinogen. And it's because the mercury breaks an enzyme process in the kidney so that they pump out an abnormal porphyrin. And that's proof that those mercury fillings were harming those kids. In addition, they showed that when you put new fillings in, the amount of mercury coming out of the kids tripled in just 2 years. 2 fillings. 3 times all the other exposures combined. And these are Portuguese kids eating fish. And so clearly they're a huge source of exposure to the children. And in addition, they showed that the boys soon lost that ability to excrete mercury, and the amount of mercury coming out of the boys dropped back down to the baseline. So by the end of the experiment, there was no more mercury coming out of the boys that had a mouthful of fillings than the little girls were still excreting it. Little boys weren't. So that means the guys are going to build up with mercury in their bodies faster. And so maybe that kind of explains why guys don't live quite as long as girls.